Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Laptop Trader. I'm Phil. I'll be your host. Here we have a quick agenda for June 2023. This is going to continue just more of our basic um, premise and our basic way we look at charts and certain. I only really look for two patterns in my trading. So tonight we're going to add on another layer to the previous videos. So there will be some repetition, but there will be a few new things in this video. The focus for this month will be on base or consolidation patterns, including a base and break and a rising wedge, which indicates rising pressure. A falling wedge would indicate falling pressure or less interest in a certain stock or market. We'll quickly review, and I'll put my previous slides up for you about pivots, how to read a candle, my buy setup slide for you guys. So that'll just be kind of review for that, and then a final look at what was left in my watch list um, from May going into June. I think you guys will be surprised by how I whittled down that large list. Went from about 1,000 stocks down to less than 200. And going into June, I'm down to 21. So I think that should be a little eye-opening thing for you guys, that the market doesn't have to be so overwhelming. And you can whittle it down to something that is really easy to follow. So let's go on next slide. That's just obviously our welcome logo. Hope you guys appreciate the art. Here's a quick basis for our community. Welcome. I'm just here to share my experience and give back to the stock investing and trading community, one video at a time. Okay, so we cover market cycles, stocks, ETFs, technical analysis using charts, trade entry, trade management, risk management, and how to create confidence by putting the odds in your favor. So good luck. My email contact, laptoptraderphil@gmail.com if you have a question. Caution, most stock traders lose money. Please protect yourself at all times. Nothing here is trading or investing advice. This channel is for information purposes only. Let's move on. Again, the basis for my investing style is looking at the 4 stages. Any market, I look at it as a pricing bell. It's just kind of the picture that comes into my mind. Here's kind of what the 4 market stages would look like on a line chart with an overlay of a moving average. And reading left to right, you can see it goes from stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3, back down to stage 4, downtrend, and back to stage 1 again. We just have the basic names for the 4 stages. Stage 1 would be a kind of accumulation, area, consolidation, even a stage of indifference. Stage 2 is an uptrend or the stage of greed. Stage 4 is a downtrend or a stage of fear. And stage 3 would also be a consolidation or a distribution where you'll see more selling taking place. Oftentimes, that's looked at as kind of like the peak of the stage or the top of the mountain. Then reversed, which is what we've kind of experienced more as of late through 2022 and 2023, where quality companies are starting to and have been going up in stage 2 here in 2023. Some are still in stage 1, early stage 2. Some companies will never come back. They'll simply stay in stage 4 and unfortunately go out of business. So that's a possibility there. This is just a quick reminder of what a pivot is, a pivot high, what it looks like, and a pivot low. Basic drawing. These will look a little bit different sometimes. It doesn't have to be 3, but minimum 3 on a daily chart. A monthly chart, you won't see as many pivots. And maybe something like a 60-minute chart, you'll see quite a few. You can have different tails on these candles. They can be all different shapes and sizes, but that's just the basic drawing of the pivot chart. Here's a quick picture of price action for you. Just shows green and red candles. It's just a pricing candle. And this is how you read the candles, how that information is actually price and people purchasing and selling different shares at different times, and how the candles form. They can form in any number of ways, but that's how you read the candles. Again, this is all repetitive. These slides are in previous videos. This is one of my main setups that I look for. I call it a 3-bar turnaround or a 3-bar turn. These can also be different colors, shapes, and sizes. The main thing with this setup is where it happens on the chart, so context matters, and number two, that third candle looking left to right, so that green candle on the right. I really like that candle to engulf the previous two. That's the main thing that I look for on that setup. It happens all the time, so it does matter where it happens. Now this is kind of my second thing that I look for in combination with that. And what I'm going to focus on this month is just kind of a base or a consolidation and then a break higher or a breakout. So bases or consolidations happen all the time, and they're an area to watch and see what happens next. They're not always an area to take action. Um, but what we want to look at on these bases is what happens out of the base. Which way does price move? A base is also a time correction versus a price correction, which gives us time to think about our next move. So you can see here as prices came up, and then you had this extended green candle, and then a range expansion red candle, and then a large red candle into a sideways base or a sideways trend in the short term. So you can see where prices were moving up and then they pulled back in price and now they're consolidating sideways. So if this was a daily chart, this would be, let's say, about 10 days worth of correction. Now, as that price corrects, it gives market participants time to think about their investment or their trade. So many participants will think, well, that may be a good time to buy, right? It came all the way up here and it pulled back. Maybe this is a good time to buy. And maybe it is, we don't know. This is just an example. But our first clue is this large red candle that prices got extended and then pulled back. So that's our first clue that prices are probably going to come down, if not consolidate for some period of time. So that's clue one. Clue two is this long base here, which you can see that. And then the third clue we're looking for is which way does price move out of this base? In this example, prices broke down or price moved down, indicating that there's more sellers or more selling pressure at this time, indicating lower prices. So if you didn't get out on this candle, this red candle, you should have had a stop under this base to avoid any more future losses. So let's say you bought way back over here somewhere, you don't want to give back all your profits. And so on the chart, you can see with these bases how it gives you time to get in or get out. Then on this example, we show another base. So this is a little bit longer than this base. So let's say this is 3 weeks. Out of this base, what happened? Well, at the end of this, we had kind of this pullback, a 3-bar turn, and then a break higher. You guys see that 3-bar turn there? 1, 2, 3, and then break higher. Well, what does that tell us? That tells us that all of a sudden sellers found value at this price and wanted to buy this company or this market, whatever it is. And then we have another basing pattern here with a slight wedge pointing up. And out of this area, we have another break higher. So this price action kind of cancels out what happened over here. So prices came back through price and time, came down, then broke out, went sideways and broke out again, indicating that prices in this situation, I would expect to continue higher from here because it took in all this other information from the market, took in that information down here through time, and then buyers decided that this was a good time to buy. So if you want to get on the train if you want to get on the ride, this would be the time to get in, either in this consolidation area or once it breaks out of this consolidation area or it breaks out of this higher base. So that's it for the training on that this month. We'll look at some real charts. So I'll show you this. That's a real thing. So we'll go to some live charts now. Again, thanks for putting up with my artwork. Let's go to the charts real quick. I also wanted to share with you quickly that here, if you do have a provider or a platform you like, it doesn't have to be bar chart. There's a lot of platforms. One nice thing the bar chart gives you at the end of the week is a market close recap of your lists. So I have 5 different lists. This just shows at the end of the close on today, Friday, what happened on this day. Not the end of the week, but the end of the day. So it gives you a little recap when you have these platforms. Very easy to organize. However, you don't want a platform. If you don't want the expense of that, that's cool too. You can do everything I show you on my videos with a phone, laptop, or a library subscription and a piece of paper. You could track your stocks on a piece of paper. You just watch them daily or weekly or whatever works for you. Don't necessarily have to have a platform, but it does save time, gives you some nice features. So when I go to my watch list, I have several. So this is what I just call my top heavy tech watch list. This is stuff that went up forever, it seems like, up into 2021 and 22, and then sold off heavy. So these companies were essentially overvalued. So I put them into a list so that when they come down in price, if at that point in time I find value in them, I can then go and maybe consider a purchase. So if I looked at this first one, for example, Datadog, I don't even know what they do, but this is about a 3-month chart. So if I really want to see that trend I've been telling you guys about, and figure out, well, what stage are we in? Well, it's not too hard to figure out because we can simply do something like this. Bring up the individual chart of Datadog and go back, let's say, 3 years. And I think you guys will see the trend. And you can see it's kind of went through its kind of cycles and phases. And it looks like now it may be starting a new potential stage 2 uptrend. So that's why I use that list. So I'm looking for value on that. So we can close that real quick. We can go back to our watch list. Let's pull up a different watch list. And let's take a look at, so I've got a list already started for July. I've got next week's list, okay? Now on this list, I'm gonna have quite a few names. So it's gonna be a couple pages that I can quickly go through on a weekend or on my time off. So here right now, I've got 191 candidates to make this week's list. You know, like I said, I can add or subtract from that list, okay? Now in May, I think it was the second week of May, I put out a few videos for you guys showing, well, what's on this week's list. So I took those couple hundred names, 300 names, whatever it was, and I whittled it down to about 50 or so, if I remember right. So this is what is left now from that list going into the first week in June. So we just closed out the month for May. And this is what I've got left going into June 2023. So it's only 21 names. That's it. That's where I'm going to start my investing or trading coming up this week, going into the first week of June. That's it. I don't need any more. I've got enough here to look at. And now we're going to combine our training with this list so I can show you a little bit of what I'm trying to get at. So I'm just going to go to these quick little charts here, okay? I'm going to go to candlestick chart. These have already been sorted and segregated into this week's list. So I can kind of zoom in. This is Amazon. So you can see here real quick, it's in an uptrend, right? I'll draw it for you in case you can't see it. Give me a minute here to reload this. I don't know. I may have to find a different thing for that. So I'll just grab my pencil, hide that. So here's where Amazon closed, 6 months ago, and we can see, right, the trend is up. It's basically up since the beginning of the year. So how do we combine that with our training? What would be a good spot to maybe consider getting on the ride or entering Amazon? So let's take a look at that. Let's just highlight a few things. So we can see here this kind of correction through time and price, and then price accelerated out of this consolidation, right? Got extended here, pulled back through price again. Then we had it kind of popped up, and here's kind of a base. Can you guys see that base right there? Got all these equal lows. And it came up again and pulled back right in that base. So right here would have been a decent area to get in. I'll show you that. Erase that. Okay, so here you got this base, and then you have the top of the base. Right? Prices moved up out of that base. We put in a red bar, so prices look lower. They did go lower. And then we've got this red bar. This right here, this red bar, prices looked lower. Right? This area looked like prices were going to come down and maybe go through that base. But what happened next is we put in this, that third bar on our green, on our 3-bar turn. After we see that, you can see that that bar exceeded these previous 2 bars. It happened in an area of consolidation, and then from there, prices really haven't looked back. So that was a pretty decent area to buy Amazon. Kind of happened again here. We had a little bit of a consolidation here. We had this, and then we had a green bar breaking out of that area. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm trying to combine my buy setup or my 3-bar turn with the consolidation. That's my favorite setup for sure. So let's delete that. Let's just look at a few more charts here and just move down the list. So this is only 21 names. We'll go quickly. You guys can write these down or look at these if you want. Here's another company. Came down, came up, kind of went sideways, broke out, came back to the same area, right? And put in a little base there. They put in another base here, and put in another base here. So you've got these different levels or steps up, and then you have a breakout candle. You could have bought any of this area and received the potential of that candle. So that was a potential winning trade going back, a couple months. It doesn't take long for some of these things to happen. Now a base or consolidation can last for years. So if something isn't moving for you, consider taking it off of your list, exiting the trade, and finding something else that has a higher potential to move. Okay. So again, that's another example of a base and break. Take a look at Dropbox. Let's move this over here. Sorry about that. That was in the way. So here's Dropbox. And you can see here we got a nasty, ugly red candle, downtrend, a 3-bar turn here, which there's no way I would have bought that, up to a new base, consolidated for a couple weeks, broke out, and then failed. So if you'd taken this trade on this big bar, you would have failed. Get another, this bar said lower prices. We came down, and now we tested this area again. So we've got a low, higher low. We have a gap up with a range expansion green bar, and now prices accelerated higher. So this is really kind of crazy price action, which is why I didn't buy Dropbox. It's still on my list, and now more recently it's come to my back into my sight, so to speak, because we're at this pivot. We're coming here, we're bouncing off that pivot area. We put in a 3-bar turn here. We put in a where we have this red bar ignored, right? We have a red bar sandwich between 2 green bars right there. Can you guys see that? Now prices moved out of that area. So this is not a bad time to buy Dropbox because a lot of the selling has already taken place. The problem with it right here is this red bar. And with probably earnings coming up pretty soon, I don't think I would take this trade, but it's definitely something to watch, just to show you how price can move around on these charts. Delete that. Just look at a few more. I'll just go through these, keep going through them. This is just 21 names. Here's one that's in a nice uptrend. So right here, you can see you have this consolidation through price and time. From this area, prices accelerated higher. Here they accelerate again, and then they accelerate again. More recently, prices pulled back, popped up, pulled back, and it looks like they're going to continue higher. So that's not too bad as far as that one goes. That's why it's on my list. I like that one. DraftKings. Take a look at a few more. This one looks like continued higher prices. Again, we can see this pattern here with price pullback. We have a long consolidation, probably a couple months. And then prices did not go down, they went up. So that tells us that our next expected move should be higher. And that's what's happened. We recently had another step here. This nice consolidation, and now prices are moving up again. So that looks good for that company, symbol FOR. A lot of times I'll keep like the big names on here like Google and other large companies in my list just to watch. But it looks to me like Google looks higher, looks like a good time to get into Google. Again, you're only going to have so much money, so you have to be selective about what you buy or invest in. This one looks nice, looks higher. HLIP. LPG. Here's a little bit different flavor of a consolidation where prices moved up, consolidated for quite a long time. Prices looked lower and then they didn't. This is more of a W pattern. You guys see that? But it went from a W into a consolidation over about probably 3 or 4 weeks and then broke out. This is, I would expect prices to continue higher at some point. That one doesn't look too bad. Meta is on the list. It's been one of the strongest companies this year. It looks like that's just a continued uptrend. Micron had a tough time earlier in the year until recently. That has kind of been playing catch up with the other semiconductors. There's another one, NXGL. You guys see this long base I'm talking about right here? It's pretty easy to see. Look how long that base is. That's probably 4 or 5 months and then breaks out. And then I just simply use my 3-bar setup that I like, that I prefer to try to find a place get in as it moves up, or I should say when it pulls back. So there's not a great example of that on this chart. So on this one, I would kind of wait and see. So that doesn't meet my qualifications. So I just go to the next chart, Oracle. This one kind of meets that qualification right here. So this move up, nice base, breakout, and then pullback, right? So I'm looking for this pullback after a base and break. So here it is right here, one, second bar, and then that third bar. That's a very clear example of what I would buy. It's still buyable right here. Price has not gotten out of control, has not gotten extended. That's looks like that's just going to continue to drift higher. Oracle, that's a good idea. Go next, PRG. If we see another example, here's another pretty clear example where we had a move up, couple month base, breakout, and then my 3-bar turn or buy setup when it pulls back. That's a pretty clear area. Buy over that bar. Just gave you another one here. Here's Friday, here's Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. That looks higher. So that's exactly what I'm looking for. See what else we can find here. A few more, and then we'll wrap up this video. Here's one right here. This area. Again, I'll draw it again for here to be a correction. Correcting, breaks out to the upside, goes in this base, breaks out, pulls back. Could have bought maybe one of those candles, but it just gave us another one kind of right here, right there. See that? Buy over that candle, so that's still buyable. Why these are on my list? These are some of the easiest charts I can find for you guys. This one is a little bit trickier because this one tends to really move. It's on my list. Is drifting higher, but this is one that tends to go up 10%, down 10%, up 10%, down. It still has these wide candles that seem to be kind of all over the place. Price is drifting higher, as represented by these higher lows. It's definitely not the cleanest setup right now, so it's still just going to be on my list. Because Monday it could gap down 10 or 15%. It's really kind of a crazy stock. Shopify looks very good. You get a nice example of kind of a breakout, pullback, long consolidation, drifting upwards. So you could have bought that consolidation, taken advantage of this breakout. Maybe if you were in it down here, sold half up here, taking some profits, and now it's going through this price correction, right? Correcting. Now we're going to see if this does this. Kind of makes a move up. So that looks positive as far as Shopify goes. A few more. STRL. That looks positive. Closing breakout on Friday. That looks good. Uber. Kind of a nice closing breakout on Friday out of a consolidation. So we had this correction here for a couple months through price and time. Broke off to the upside and is now correcting, again, breaking out. So that looks higher. Really easy pattern to see. I use the most basic trade strategy I think that's available. I'm only using price and time in these charts. Here's another one that possibility. This is a very low float stock, or it trades very does not trade a lot of volume. See this volume down here? Does not trade very much volume. So this is one you got to be careful of. You do not want to put all your eggs in a basket of stock with low volume. But it did go sideways, broke out, and is now consolidated again. So we're looking for another move higher to maybe get on board of Zedge Company, symbol ZDGE. But very low float stock. So be careful with that. And we got AT&T made the list. For one reason only, because it's got a climactic sell-off. You get this big base up here. It broke down after earnings, became climactic, bounced up, and then now it's gapping down. There's a lot of volume down here, and there's could be potentially a lot of sellers trapped for this to bounce back up. That's the only reason AT&T is on my list. It's a potential climactic setup going into next week. Finally, symbol NWSA News Corp is currently at a sell-off, right? Stage one. Stage one, we don't know if it's going to go up or down. It goes up in a basing pattern. I don't see my 3-bar turn there, but the close on Monday over this area, I would expect prices to go higher. So that's it. That's it for this week, you guys. And this month, that's all that's on my list. Pretty basic list. If there's anything pops up on your list, you're welcome to share that with the group. But that's it. So shared that with you guys as far as pretty basic. I've got my other longer lists, such as next week's list, which I can go through. This has quite a few more names on it, but I can just kind of go through and pick. Say I pick 10 more to put on this week's list. And you can see there's 191 names. You know, that's more than enough to find an opportunity in today's market. So I think there's a lot of opportunity out there. I think a lot of the big names have come down in price. Even something like Apple, which you know, a few years ago was really expensive. It's still under 200 bucks. There's Apple, you know, uptrend. But there's a lot of, there's AMD. This one has had kind of a crazy ride. Also, AMD was, let's look at the full chart of AMD. There's a 3-year chart of AMD. You can see the nasty downtrend sideways. See some of these breaks here, and recently in the last 4 weeks has just accelerated in price tremendously. This AMD was down below 60 bucks. Now we're up at closing on Friday at 117.86. So again, if you can read these charts, you can take advantage of these opportunities. And you can even see on this chart, this is a weekly chart. Nothing funky about it. It's just a weekly chart. It's price, volume, and a few moving averages. Just look at price alone. You can see that see the downtrend, right? See where it bottomed out. And then you can see this uptrend kind of come back into the market. You can see these 3 moving averages where the blues kind of turned up, the green one's turned up, and the red is flat and it's slightly starting to turn up. But you can see these bases even on the weekly chart. See this base and break? There's another price correction through price and time, and then it breaks out. So what would we look for on AMD? Well, we would look for a correction to come back so that we can get on board. And then we would just simply go down from the weekly chart to, let's say, a daily chart. So we know it's in an uptrend. Let's take a look at a daily chart and see, can we see a buy setup on this daily chart? Well, it had a nice base here, broke out, and then it had a little 3-bar turn here we could have got on board. And it had a base right here that we could have bought and taken advantage of that price appreciation. So I hope you guys see that there's always something in the market that is, there's always opportunity, even if all of the news and other stuff is negative, whether that's politics or whether that's economic news, international news, different financial networks. I think if you can focus the way I've shown you over the last 3 or 4 videos, and you can sort and segregate all this stuff in visual format in a chart format, I think that should help you guys narrow down your investments and your potential trading ideas. So with that, we will wrap this up, and we will just simply say thanks for putting up with my artwork again. Good luck investing or trading. And this is Phil at the Laptop Trader on YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys the first week of July. Bye now.